Let's see. Hey, we're live. Oh, we should have posted a link somewhere, huh?
Yeah, that's fine. We're getting back into the swing of things.
Anyway, I'm Chris, Stags storyboard artist sometimes, comic wannabe. And yeah, today we're talking about the Silver Surfer #5 and what it means to be a hero. Um, what does that entail? So these are the things we're going to cover.
Sounds good. And I'm Ben Biggs, Sonic's best friend.
Who's best friend?
Sonic's.
Oh, Sonic's best friend. It's funny because, like, dude, I told you before, but every time I use the comic site to look up comics online, it for some reason it always when I type in read comics, the first thing that comes up is Sonic. So.
Oh yeah, that's the default that is saved to or whatever.
Like, yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I know.
Yeah, I got stuck on, or my computer's stuck on this garbage comic called Rook Exodus that everybody loves.
Oh yeah. See, this is we just started talking about this offline, but Rook Exodus, like, that's a name that is trying to be cool and isn't.
I agree, 100%.
What does it even mean?
I do not recall. I believe the character is named Rook, if I recall correctly. At least that. But yeah, it's maybe heck. Next time we do comics, let's do that, because I think there's a lot to. I mean, spoiler, obviously, I don't like it. So, but I think there's a lot to learn from Execution, and like I said, like, people love that comic book. So, everybody's an idiot except me.
Oh, okay. Well, that could be true. All right, so here we go. Silver Surfer #5. I could not find in my comic or in the omnibus when this came out. I think it was early 70s.
It's got to be, because if this issue is 1960, or rather this run is 1968, and it's issue 5, we can presume it's 68 April, maybe 69.
Yeah, April. Okay, so yeah, here we go. Cool cover. Right.
Yes. So part of what, I just happened to be re-looking through my Twitter, my own, like, retweets that I was doing, and I had retweeted one from Jimmy Palmiotti. You know Jimmy Palmiotti, does that name it mean anything to you?
Yep.
How so?
Inker, writer, guy that I met at a con, and he said he was going to hit me up for work, and he never did.
Well, I've never met him myself. But
I was trash back then, so
seems like a positive that he, at least, even if he didn't mean it, he said something nice. Gave me hope. Yeah, I've only known him from inking. I recently learned that he did a lot of writing as well. But either way, I followed him on Twitter, and he tweeted something not that long ago about how covers should tell story again, and cover artists should try harder, and that stop with all the standing around poses, which I really like. And here we go. Like, this is a comic book that I'm inclined to think I'm gonna like. There's a giant man shooting fire at Silver Surfer.
Yeah, very cool.
Hopefully that's actually in this comic.
I feel like I have to mention it because everyone does every single time that it appears anywhere. But you could see that whoever inked the cover used the razor blade technique to scratch out the highlights of the energy blast.
You're saying people point that out all the time?
Every time.
Interesting.
Yeah. You won't be able to unsee it now.
I mean, I definitely was noticing it, but I didn't know people were so keen to want to talk about it.
It's very difficult to do.
I mean, I just assumed that was, hatching of some kind. I just assumed they stopped, filling in black and then did a little, but now I know they did extra work.
Well, I haven't seen the original, so you might be right, but I think that's probably how they did that. And the perspective's all off, but no one cares because it looks cool.
Yes, it's going more for, like, excitement in it, and like, this is a comic that probably some stuff's going to happen that you'll be really having fun.
Yeah,
not just standing around talking.
Yep. Yeah, and our hero is in peril, right? Which, like, I saw somebody recently talking about that. You don't really. I mean, obviously, like, there's not a lot of storytelling in covers these days, So you don't really get that, which doesn't exactly like compel you to want to pick a book up.
On top of that, I don't know how many. First of all, it's not the cover artist's fault usually. To be fair, so when Palmiotti is saying they got to try harder, it's usually not because they don't want to try harder. It's that the editors and the publisher is saying we want these types of covers, not these types of covers. But more than that, when an artist is left to their own devices, I don't know how often many today's comic book artists are storytellers. You know, they're illustrators. They don't really have any acting ability or drama or something like that. And then more than that, I think a lot of artists, for whatever reason, are uncomfortable putting heroes or their cool characters or something like that in peril. Like they don't want to, cast them in some sort of weakness. They have to put them as top and super cool all the time.
Yeah. If I click this arrow, is it going to mess things up? I just want to get rid of this little bar up here.
I don't know.
Let's try it.
Hey, lucky.
Dude, this is the best episode yet.
We haven't even gotten past the cover.
All right, let's get into it. Oh, wait.
No, I do have something to say about the very first page, so don't just go flying past it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Not this page, though.
No, the actual first page.
All right, here we go.
So I was thrilled to see the Fantastic Four right off the bat. I was like, "Oh, hey, cool!"
Okay.
Like I'm anytime they want to show up, I'll be all for it.
Me too. Silver Surfer was probably recently in an issue of the Fantastic Four around this time, I would guess.
Could be. Now, right. So I'm immediately struck by how fantastic the artwork is. Like that Mr. Fantastic is just super great. Like I love the drawing, everything. I like that towel. That towel is excellent. There's a nice curve of the like the capturing the life and the motion of him actually. Like we have the fun comic booky effect, the swoop as he switches his head around, but then the actual movement of the cloth, bringing all and then that wide leg stance to show just how much energy is happening. Now all of these positives, my one negative is the thing is actually bathing while Mr. Fantastic is in the bathroom with him.
Yes.
And so I was struck. I was like, is this normal for other dudes perhaps, or so, in a way that I don't really know. It's like,
I mean, they're a team, building, right? Like,
what's that?
They have their own building. Why are they sharing the same bathroom?
Yes, exactly. But I was thinking about it like in terms of like if you're in the army or something, it's more like a communal space rather than like an actual house. Even though they do have living quarters and stuff, it just struck me. I was like, this is a little weird to me, at least, that the thing technically is naked back there.
Well, I mean, is he? I mean, he's rock, so he's. I mean, I guess he always wears his little
trunks. So I mean, except for that one movie where they decided to go full nude, which is, a choice I liked.
All right. Well, we didn't say the title. So the title is "And Who Shall Mourn for Him." So we'll find out, I guess.
Yes. So once again, aside from the great, fantastic drawing, the energy is just immediate. Like this is a comic. We are going places. Bam. We're not just we're not getting like a long scene of them talking about boring stuff. The alarm is going off. They are ready to respond. It's interrupted their day-to-day life.
Which is, as we get more into it, they pack a lot into this issue.
Yes, they sure do.
I mean, it's just so much. So I guess we should say Stan Lee, I guess, wrote this. John Buscema drew it, and his brother Sal inked it, and Sam Rosen lettered it. So
no credit to the colorist. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure like when they started crediting colorists, but it wasn't for a while longer.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. So I'm not super familiar with John or Sal. I do know, obviously, that everybody loves John Buscema, and I like a lot of, that's the thing. I was reading this whole thing. I was constantly struck by how awesome all the artwork was. And so, obviously, his reputation is well earned. But one of the things that struck me, I like Sal quite a bit as well. And one of the things I like about him is, I personally tend to favor a little bit more angularity and stylized line work in my own things that I draw and then the things that I like. And that's what I think of as the difference between John and Sal, is that Sal's a little bit more stylized. He's a little bit more sharp with his angles. And so I think to see the combination of them two is particularly exhilarating to me, where we have John's extremely strong pencil work with the stylization, cut on top of it. And then just while we're talking about it, a mutual friend of ours, Kyle Haas, has a bizarre prejudice against Sal Buscema. Years ago when I was first meeting Kyle, we're all working at Marvel Animation, and I happened to have an issue of Web of Spider-Man or something like that. It was drawn by Sal, inked by himself. So he did the pencils and the inks. And Kyle explained that his uncle, who got Kyle into comics when he was a kid, was deeply against Sal Buscema for some reason, and Kyle simply inherited that prejudice.
Okay.
We got into a fist fight over it, but
I'm not the biggest Sal fan. I've seen some stuff. You know what it is, like, man, and like I tend to agree with like pretty much what you were saying there with the stylization and whatnot. But the more stylized he got, I think the less that I liked his work. But
I'm not super familiar with, like, I think that was from the 80s and it was still awesome to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see the issues, but I'm not like super into his stuff. Although John said that he was his favorite inker, I think, besides himself. And for me, like, he is good inking him. I still prefer John to ink himself. It's more brush work.
Well, but stylization is probably, meaning I will always prefer the more stylized look. But anytime an artist inks themselves, they're going to know what they were intending, right? And so it's probably always going to be stronger.
You have to see his own inks, man. I mean, it's just nothing compares. But Sal does a good job. I mean, as an inker over him, I think he's pretty good. So let's get moving.
Once again, maximum energy, right? Look at that pose. All these characters are on the move. We are doing stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, they're all friggin' ready to go. So they dash out, see what the alarm is all about. Let's see it.
They're chasing somebody down. They don't know who it is. He got away so fast. Human Torch is feeling
that's right.
Try to even keep up with him.
Yeah.
This is a part where I can really appreciate, like I said, I love that, energy superheroic stuff is happening, right? Like somebody has stolen this device that, in dialogue, Mr. Fantastic has explained it's incredibly dangerous, and they don't know who it is, so they got to go and try and stop him before things go bad. And I like this jump between, or rather, I like what is happening in terms of, like, in the next page where Human Torch is, he's saying, okay, but I like what's happening, but I do not love the storytelling, because the one downside of many of these older comic books is the dialogue, and this is an interesting, like, given the Marvel method, right? So it's like, we don't know if that's how this was created, but we can make an assumption that it probably was, given the time period. That John would be coming up with the panels, the storytelling pacing and all that sort of stuff, and then Stanley's going to come on top of it and maybe add things that were never intended to some degree. But given what we're having here, it's a good safe bet that Human Torch doesn't know who he's chasing at this point, because the culprit is moving so fast. But we don't, like, it's a tough thing, meaning that we don't see that. We're told entirely, like, we don't, the shot is at Human Torch rather than, like, what Human Torch sees. So, and then we jump this enormous gap where, he's clearly still, he's high above the city, but now he's gone all the way out to the stratosphere in the space of one panel gutter. And it's such a jump. Like, I like that he's flown so far that he's actually losing the ability to stay on fire. But I want that type of storytelling to actually be told rather than these enormous jumps and relying so heavily on dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder. It probably was a Marvel method. I would assume that it was. I wonder what John was given, because
Yeah.
there is so much going on in this issue. So
Yes.
yeah, he chases after him and flames out, falls down to Earth. Fortunately, he's able to recover and not die.
Now, see, in those panels, we can see the visual storytelling, right? That he's flamed out, then he flames back on because we know that he's recovered back in oxygen. But what we don't get, there's no storytelling aside from dialogue to tell us that he's lucky that it kept him from blacking out, right? So you could cut that dialogue, and we would have never had that storytelling. And that's what I want. I want to see that. I want to see him like barely, keeping his his consciousness before he gets back on.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe he could have kind of done that here.
Yeah. Yeah. You could have done it right there rather than absolutely.
And it would work perfectly.
Absolutely, because then he falls. Yep.
Yeah. Of course, then you maybe want to show him recovering here too, but yeah. So then we get a nice big shot of Silver Surfer and stealing what's it called, the Space Scrambler?
The Space Scrambler. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we know is already fun. Like he's got a giant techno gun of some like this is we're doing stuff. We're having fun.
Yeah. So at this point, like he's trapped on Earth, right? Like he's
So after betraying Galactus, his punishment is to be confined to Earth, and so he's constantly, as I understand it, at least in these early issues, trying to
get free.
Get out of being trapped.
Yeah. As a kid, man, this one thing I remember, I was like frustrated that he was stuck. Just like, I was like, dude, come on. Like, I know you're going to get free eventually. And I just want to see like where that goes,
Yes. That's, I mean, in the regard, like this is only issue 5. So yes, I can understand exactly what, and I imagine I have similar experiences with other things in stories when I was a kid where you're just frustrated that you're not doing the fun stuff. But I think that the good story can do fun stuff with those, and that's what this issue is, as we'll see, that does very well. But while we're just on that particular topic, I have only read issue 5 of the 60s, and but a couple years ago I tried reading based on somebody's recommendation some of the 80s Silver Surfer, and was struck by how boring and morose Silver Surfer, at least the issue that it might have been issue 1 probably of the 80s run, where it's like the exact opposite of all this. Like, yes, I understand that he's trapped. I understand that he wants out, but he's doing things actively in a very exciting way. Whereas what I experienced in those 80 comics was pure boring.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of that kind of thing in the rest of these issues as well. Like where he's, he kind of is like, oh, like humans are terrible and that kind of a thing. And,
we're getting more sad sack in other issues than we're getting in this. Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine to explore that a little bit. But like this issue does that as well, where I know that he's experiencing that. I know he's desperate, and I like part of what he's saying here, because part of what, as I understand it, was sort of revelatory for when the Marvel comics sort of hit the scene, was that the heroes weren't perfect, they weren't completely good, and they would often fight and argue with one another. And so right here, there's a dialogue where, and this is fine, where I think, we're getting into some of his thought process, which you can't depict visually. And so that's a great moment for a dialogue to explain what you can't show as a comic book art, with the art, that he could have asked Mr. Fantastic to borrow it, but he didn't want to dare risk a refusal. And then, in the Marvel fashion, like, let's say this had happened, where he goes down and he says, Mr. Fantastic, I would like to use your Space Scrambler. And Mr. Fantastic says, it's too dangerous, I can't loan it to you. And Silver Surfer, given his desperation, is like, all right, well, now I'm going to beat you up and take your Scrambler. And that is something that could have happened. But he just bypassed that and he stole it. So that way he didn't have to beat up the Fantastic Four.
Which I think is a good time to, like, bring up, the whole thing about like being a hero, and like, is it okay that he just went and stole this thing, for his own desires, really?
Yes.
I mean, you could say that you understand, and I guess we if any of us were in a situation, we might justify it the same way that he did, but for a character that's like a hero, is that
Well, therein lies the question. Like,
okay?
yes, does Silver Surfer have heroic attributes? Absolutely. But is he truly a hero? Right? Like, is that what like when we think of Mr. Fantastic, this is a hero. When we think of Spider-Man, this is a hero. Captain America, right? But does Silver Surfer meant to live up to those confines of heroism, or is he something else? Because given where he comes from, right? Like, who knows how many planets he's helped destroy before he finally, gave Earth, stood up for Earth.
Yeah. So stealing a space gun, not that big of a deal.
In potentially to the things that he's committed in throughout his lifetime. So but that's one thing is interesting here is that he's not being like bad, right? He's not being a thief for the sake of like you said, we understand why he's done this thing, and he can operate outside of the morals of some of these other heroic characters, but we still expect him to be primarily good,
right? Which I think he is. But anyway, so he tries to use it, and it goes very poorly,
just as Mr. Fantastic speculated it would.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. Disastrously wrong. So boom, we get a big explosion, and then he sort of flashes back to his lost
Shallabal, his one true beloved.
He's got a shallabald head.
The thing that so for me growing up primarily, like, I started to really learn about the Marvel characters in the 90s almost exclusively due to the Marvel trading cards, because I didn't have a lot of access to comics and comic shops and stuff like that. So a lot of my knowledge comes from what I could read on the back of the cards. And so you're getting a lot of information that would have been built up over time. Like, so at this point, is Shallabal, is this her first introduction, right, to the readers? Like, if you were reading this in 1968, 69, is this where you're like, whoa, what the heck? Is this the first time revealing some of Silver Surfer's lore? Do you know?
I don't know. I've read all these this original run. It's not, because they're showing her an earlier issue.
Okay.
Issue 3 looks like. She may have appeared before that, actually.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it looks like she's probably in the first issue as well. But yeah, so
yeah, well, it was fun. When I was reading it, I was like, "Oh, who's this? What's going on?"
Yeah, but you knew a little bit about that, right?
Yeah, I knew that he had. From what I understand, Galactus came to his home planet, and he basically sacrificed himself to protect his world, to become, the herald to Galactus.
Yeah, yeah. So this gun explodes. He kind of has this little dream sequence here.
Well, we don't know it's a dream until right here when he wakes up, because at first, this gun explodes, and it's like, oh, what the heck's going on? And then we get a reveal that this is just a dream.
Right. So yeah, here we go. Here's the reveal. Whoever scanned these pages did a horrible job. I'm glad they did, but you suck. So yeah, he wakes up. I mean, even him waking up was like super dynamic.
Yes,
it was great. But man, that's one of the things that I love about this issue, which we'll see later, is like him. He has a different design a little bit later in the issue, which is great. But yeah, so he wakes up, he doesn't know where he is, and then he just gets this guy just making breakfast.
Making bacon.
I thought the smell.
He was certain that bacon would
wake you. Yeah, right. I mean, everybody likes bacon. Come on in, man. Take a load off your feet. Who are you?
But see, this is part of what was fun to me when I read that about the bacon. Is like, yes, like, of course, I'm going to wake up and smell bacon. I'm going to be very excited. But it helps the contrast of, like, does Silver Surfer care about bacon? Like, it really kind of, because it's so mundane and yet so familiar and, like, human, and he's not. And so, like, it really helped too. This juxtaposition this contrast was really exciting to me.
Yeah.
To find out, like, that does he want to eat breakfast? Like, that's a stupid, mundane question that another comic might take 6 issues to answer. But this was just exciting for 2 panels to find out.
Yeah, and he even mentions it, right? Like, well, I mean, they talk about it here. So this is where we get the introduction of Al B. Harper, the name's Harper, Albie Harper, but that won't mean a thing to you. And then he says, I'm called the Silver Surfer. Yeah, that was hard to guess.
That wasn't hard to guess.
Oh, that wasn't hard to guess. Yeah. Here, have some Java. And then Silver Surfer, I have no need for physical nourishment. Yeah, and then we get kind of like a little, mention of his name sort of being like right on the nose there, which we talked about a little bit earlier.
Yes, the idea of that he refers to himself as Silver Surfer and this moniker of like, like, is that a cool name or not? I've always thought it was cool. When I was an 8-year-old, I thought nothing of it. Cool, Silver Surfer, good to go. But like, is that too straightforward?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Obviously, it doesn't seem like you don't think so. But some people might think like it's sort of lame.
I wonder if it's one of those things though, because it's like you've always known him as Silver Surfer.
Exactly.
And you're probably like, I was introduced to him when I was younger. So when you're younger, it's like, oh yeah, it's cool.
Exactly. That's the thing. I've always, I think that if Spider-Man didn't exist until today, like if you tried to launch Spider-Man as a comic or Batman as a comic today, people would be like, "What? That's a really lame name,"
Right? Yeah. All of those. But yeah, just like so. Getting back to this, I love this because I obviously drink coffee constantly, like most artists do. A lot of artists do.
That's right. Is that your elephant foot?
Yeah, someone gave this to me back in the Marvel days. But yeah, so Al says you don't have to need it, friend. It just kind of warms the inner man, and it's like, yeah, dude, I always look forward to that first cup of coffee in the morning.
Yes. Well, it's giving us, this guy is becoming real with just simple, like these simple little things that obviously when we were 8 we wouldn't have really connected with that, but we're connecting with it a lot now.
For sure, yeah. There's a. Oh yeah, and then he knows the Silver Surfer's like, dude, how'd I get here? So he explains what happened. He's a scientist. He was out looking for rocks, I think. Yeah, my hobby is rock collecting. Which, man, I remember like reading this and thinking like later in the issue, he could have been looking for something that was closer to what he actually does. Instead of just like rocks, because he's a physicist.
He's a physicist.
Yeah, so I was thinking if they like tied that in, might have been a bit better.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, like he could have been out doing something related to his field of work, as opposed to just like, oh, I'm like, my hobby is rock collecting.
But it's possible that, given that we're jumping to the end of the issue, when we get there, the very thing that he finds might be them thinking about tying it into right here, right? So rather than his job and what he, like his field of study, his passion, his own hobby is what leads him potentially to the answer later on.
Let's say,
well, that could be what they were thinking. Like, we're connecting it. We have him looking for rocks.
That's true. Well, that's very convenient that he's a rock collector. So anyway, yeah, Silver Surfer falls out of the sky, and
and then he takes it. I thought I was a little disappointed here because I was like, he's like, I'm sure you're wondering how you got here, and then he tells the story, and it's like so non-consequential that we didn't actually need that story told, because like you could have just first of all, we don't need panels showing it, and Silver Surfer could have probably guessed. I assume I fell out of the sky and you found me. He'd be like, yep. Because like it doesn't actually lead to anything. He's like, you fell out of the sky and I found you. It's like, oh, well, that's not a very interesting story.
Yeah. Well, it's probably because of what you just mentioned, So
yes.
how it plays into things later, which
probably.
Yeah. And so, is that good?
It's let's say it's neutral at this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know until the end, I guess.
Right.
So,
but even then, I would, knowing we both know the end, and everybody watching has also read and loved this issue, and so they know the ending as well. We're just avoiding it. But I don't think even knowing the end that justifies this. It didn't make this more interesting, and it didn't, like you said. So like you could have cut all this, and it would have happened exactly the same way with literally no value lost.
Right. Yeah. Man, we should get going.
Yes.
So much more to get through. Okay. So yeah, so he kind of explains that to him. Then Silver Surfer explains how he's stuck here. And then he needs his help he basically just trying to get out of this prison, which is Earth, that he's stuck on Earth. So this guy, he's a physicist. That's something he can maybe help him with.
One of the things I was going to say earlier, but I love this dude's design. Like, he doesn't have to be as like kind of big and bulky and kind of like tough looking as he is, but like that second panel where his like he's got this like fierce look to his eyes. He looks cool.
Oh yeah, he's just great at drawing guys like that. I mean, this panel, look how giant his hand is.
Exactly.
It's not your typical scientist.
Not at all.
Which is cool, because I feel like back then, like, things were very, stereotype driven, right? Like, scientist is like a nerdy guy, and he seems like a cool dude, other than his rock collecting hobby. I mean, if you're into that, that's cool, but yeah, so he's gonna help him, potentially. So he gives Silver Surfer some clothes because he needs equipment to be able to do anything.
Yes, he doesn't have the funding that the Mr. Fantastics of the world have. So Silver Surfer is going to go and get some money.
Yeah. So he goes to Al's closet, I guess, and he grabs some, like, I love this, man. The sunglasses, the fedora, and the trench coat.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So here he's being a hero.
A stand-up guy.
He saves for Dolly.
Yes.
And,
but this is good, right? Because we have some dialogue there, I think, in that panel there where he says, no, it's not here. But, this is something that I do think is important frequently. We want to show that these characters are good. Like, is Silver Surfer as much of a hero as other characters? No. But is he inherently good, right? He sees a kid drop a doll, he gives it to him, right? It's just something to show this is a good man, just doing small things that are, helping. And then I think it's here where it's at least this page here. Yeah. If the money is to be spared, then I shall earn it. So, the immediate question is like, all right, how is Silver Surfer going to get money? And he's going to try and do it the right way, which is commendable.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So it's good. More. Yeah. They're revealing more of his character here with those last couple of scenes in this. So he goes in, and what is this, a gag? You come here with no references, no social security card, not even a permanent home address. You expect a job? Try someplace else, mister. I'm busy. While you're at it, try washing that white gook off your face.
The circus
won't be here till spring. I love this panel. There's one next to it with the
all these
montage.
Montage shot, exactly.
Yeah, it's so good, man.
And it's something I've often thought about, this idea of the modern world where in the past we didn't have nearly as much sort of requirements to survive, right? Like all these identifying things, so social security cards, driver's license, birth certificates, all this sort of stuff. And on the one hand, how that's helped us as a civilization or a society, but how often, that's what I've always thought about, is the ways that it also hinders us. And so to use that against him is a perfect example of how those things can go wrong, right? Like all he's trying to do is simply earn money and do the right thing. But all of these rules of society, in many ways arbitrary, are exactly what's preventing him from doing the right thing.
Right.
Like the last one there where he's like, some nerve, didn't even have an ID. Oh, no, this guy right here. He's like, beat it, Mac. This is a union shop. Didn't even have an ID card. This whole idea of like, having to be a part of a union. Like it just keeps getting more and more complicated, our society and how all these rules that work.
Right. Yeah.
To keep us under control.
Go back quickly because I think this is important here where she's afraid he gives her the doll back, but
the mom's afraid
of him. And, he says, poor pathetic creature, so riddled with fear, with gnawing distrust. What monumental irony that they who rule a planet should be so insecure. But let me not forget my goal. So, he's kind of trying to figure us humans out.
Yes.
All right, so we'll go through here. Look at this thing, man. People were tracing even back then.
Cheaters.
Just, I mean, this is AI of the 60s.
I don't. Obviously, I don't believe in. I mean, I don't think that's cheating by any means.
Oh, tracing?
I think if you want to try, like, yeah, it just doesn't. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think we've ever talked about it. Maybe we have, but
Boy.
I just don't care. I just don't care about any of it. Like good art. Not to get us too distracted on this, but like I've come to a place where good art, of course, is utterly fantastic. But if there's not a story, like if it doesn't have a story, like even a mediocre story, good art is completely useless to me. Like if you have a bad story with the most amazing art in the world, I don't care. And so I also don't care how you achieve art because to me it's so almost worthless to me nowadays.
Yeah, I get that. I guess my just quickly, and we can move on. My counter to that is if you're willing to trace stuff, then it might show that you're not really that invested in making something good. So
That's possibly a good point. Meaning, but like, yeah, because I mean, obviously this artwork is so utterly fantastic. It's part of the joy of this experience, right?
yeah, he wasn't tracing a real silver
yeah,
man.
Exactly, and he probably wasn't tracing like that collar in that second panel. Fantastic, you know the way it's lifted up and it's
Yeah, you don't get. This is what I don't like about it, man. You don't get stuff like this because like this isn't. I don't know. It's just not real, you know. Like it can. I feel like it confines what's capable.
Yes. Tracing will limit how exciting your work is going to be because you're too trapped by realism because you're literally tracing realism.
Yeah.
But also that said, realism can often be quite surprising. You know, where when you see things, you're like, I literally trace this, and people are like, "There's no way. That looks totally wrong."
Yeah. No, that's true. But I just think that something like special happens when it goes through sort of like your filtered, you know, and then whatever. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, no problem. Just to say, I don't want to read. I likely don't want to read anything traced.
Yeah. I mean, some of the worst comic artists are known for tracing, and I won't name names, but we all know who he is.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, so again, you know, Silver Surfer is judging us, and he's unhappy with humans. It's no use. They haven't changed. They'll never change. So this is like an important theme, I think, too, throughout this issue. You know, kind of seeing us as a certain way, and maybe like this is as good as they can be. You know.
Yes.
So,
which is something we get explored a lot in, you know, especially like these older Marvel comics, right? Where a character is different and, you know, perhaps provokes fear and therefore makes them, you know, struggle as to be, you know, an outcast in one way. Like that's the classic thing of the Thing, you know, from the Fantastic Four is that he's a monster. And so it makes him an outcast to society. And just not to distract us too much, but, you know, in this new movie that's coming out, one of the things that struck me was there's a scene where a bunch of kids are asking him to raise a car, and they clearly are not afraid of him, right? They're more excited. And I did start to wonder. I was like, I wonder how people like kids, because the little girl, she doesn't care, right? She's not scared of the way that he looks weird, right? How much would kids be afraid of? But I also think when I was a kid, I was afraid of normal adults quite frequently. You know, let alone some giant rock monster or some weird guy, you know, clearly hiding his identity and with a white face. I might be terrified.
It depends. I guess it depends on the kid, right? Because you always see like there's those kids that are afraid of clowns or like mascots or something, and then then other kids are like don't seem to be afraid of any of that stuff. So I guess it depends maybe on just your individual personality, you know.
Now I do imagine as an adult, like if I was walking down the street and I saw this guy, you know, like skulking around, I probably would be worried. Like a pure white man, or I mean, in this case, he's actually silver. He'd actually be kind of gleaming on, you know, the few parts that I could see. I probably would be a little worried.
Yeah. So anyway,
and I probably would throw things at him.
He breaks into a bank because that's what heroes do.
Well, in this case, he's been driven back to desperation, right? So he tried to do it the right way, and he's like, all right, well, if I can't do this, then I guess I'll have to get money the only way I can. I'll use my superpowers.
Steal
and break into this bank. But then he has there's a phrase for this where he's picking up the money and he realizes, no, I can't cross this bear. I can't go this far.
Yeah,
I got to do that. I can't steal this money.
His conscience gets to him.
Yes.
Must I descend to their own lawless level? Again, man, he hates humans.
I don't know if he hates you. Talking about this now, I'm really
crapping on us, man.
He sees Earth as a prison, and it is a prison to him, right? So no matter what he has a whole planet to be a prisoner of. But like, if I trapped you, in a house or a room, eventually you're going to be like, I want out of here. I want my freedom. And so it's not so much that that Earth sucks, so much as that any prison is a prison to the human spirit. And obviously, even though he's not human, we're creating this with humans as the audience. And we'll fight against being trapped. So I see how his prison is something that is driving him constantly to escape. But more than that, I think we're just getting, because it doesn't have to be Silver Surfer, right? This can be the Thing. This can be the Hulk, where the dangers of other people and their judgments or their fear of the unknown. This is a story that's told many, many times where he's not wrong to say that there are lawless people. There is savagery and this like the disgusting distrust and all that sort of stuff, right? That can cause people to do terrible things.
For sure. Yeah. You see it all the time. Now, today, this emblem on the policeman's hat would be fully rendered and drawn out with all the details. You would know exactly where this guy works, what city. But you don't need it, man.
That's true. I literally, because you're just absorbing. Most of the time, that's how people are reading comics, right? We're just absorbing basically iconography, right? Yeah. Like you immediately understand man in some sort of authority position, right? Is he a cop? Right. Is he a security guard? Doesn't really,
Yeah. It's cartoony, man. You don't need
exactly
to explain it all or spell it all out. So he gets caught and got him dead to rights, man.
Now that said, I do wonder if perhaps they didn't draw that because a reference would have been difficult, and so it's like, what does this badge look like? I don't know. I'll just do this.
No, man, you can get that. This wasn't the 30s or something, or they definitely get the reference. One thing I like about these old comics too, with like Silver Surfer, is like he can do so many more things than you see him do nowadays. I mean, I don't know. I haven't read Silver Surfer comics recently, but
sure,
I feel like like the Ron Lim run and stuff. It's like he shoots cosmic energy bolts or whatever, and he flies pretty fast. And those are like
that's about it.
But like here, he's like wiping his memory. And
yes, he's got a cosmic haze that apparently can cloud this guy's brain until he leaves.
Well, I think it was also kind of like, oh, dude, what do we need here?
Right. He can do anything to get us out of the story. Yeah.
But it's cool looking back now. It's like, oh, there's so many like things that you could do with this character that you never see him do.
I was shocked when he did this. I was like, holy cow, I had no idea he could do something like this.
Yeah. So it makes me forget. And then, let's see, what does it say? Hey, I must have dozed off. Might as well grab myself some chow. At least it's something to do while I'm stuck here in Dolesville.
So we go away from this. I assume he's actually a security guard now that we're really paying attention to him.
Yeah.
And we don't ever come back to him. But I will say, as I was reading the next couple of panels, I did realize that, because he says like, I don't know what I must have dozed off. Oh, I get some food. And presumably tomorrow morning, his boss will come in and be like, the vault's open. What the?
Yep. Yeah.
So Silver Surfer did screw that guy over.
That guy definitely got fired. Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's where I started to wonder if we were kind of losing the plot a little. Like I was like, all right, where's this issue going? Because we have him steal the space scrambler, crashes, meets the scientist, needs to go get money. But now we meet another dude, right? And I was like, okay, are we just going to wander around, keep beating people? Like, what's the actual story here?
Right. It does make you feel that way. yeah, I mean, this issue is interesting because there's just so much going on, and it's
Mhm.
like, man, I don't know. Is there a more sort of simple way to do it? Um,
And this is, once again, what are we getting out of the Marvel method here, right? Because like if you were a single creator controlling the whole narrative, you might move things at a more brisk pace. You might, it's like because you have two minds at least trying to tell this one cohesive story,
yeah,
right? And so, we also don't know exactly, given what I've seen with Jack Kirby's pages, like Jack Kirby will write in the notes suggested dialogue and intention and stuff like that,
Mm.
that Stan Lee was, free to, would sometimes ignore entirely, right? So if Kirby was left to his own devices, we'd get a different story that might move in a different way than what we are seeing in the final product.
right. So anyway, yeah, he comes across this guy, and he's not doing great.
But let's also show here once again we're getting a sign of heroism, right? So he says a voice muffled in fear and pain, and then he immediately says, "What dire mishap has befallen you?" So this is again somebody going out of his way to try and help somebody, right? He's not even a human; he's just finding somebody in trouble. And what happened? Can I help you?
Right. Yeah. So this guy explains that, you know, if you mean how did I get myself leaned on, it's the same old story. I was broke. I needed dough bad. So he's kind of mirroring his situation.
Yes.
That seems to be a common dilemma amongst mankind. Yeah, you can say that again. And then he gives his
backstory.
His story.
Yeah. And see, I was thinking when I was reading this, I was like, okay, I can see where they're going here. It can get folded in a bit more naturally, right? Rather than just like wandering and meeting strangers and something, like Silver Surfer should be doing something where he meets this, not just finds him on the street and be like, you tell me your story now, right? It's Silver Surfer's doing something that actually leads into this guy. They befriend each other. They, like it could be cleaned up in a way to make it more cohesive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So he finds out like he tried to, make money gambling
because his wife is sick.
Help a sick wife.
Yeah.
It's always somebody who's sick. And then we find out that that didn't go well for him.
Because the game's rigged.
Yeah, the game was rigged, and I mean, one of the best things about Buscema is his goons. He's
yes.
He must have been into like boxing or something, or I mean, I remember like seeing he drew like cauliflower ears on guys. And, like, even this guy, I think you can see.
Yeah, you can tell.
Here.
Yeah.
So he was kind of into that. I mean, here you can really see it well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just a great. He's so
absolutely
good, man. But yeah. So this he's in trouble because of his gambling, and so Silver Surfer says, "Hey, like, show me how to play this game. Maybe I can be of some help." And so he does. And are you nuts? I just told you what they did to me, and I know my way around. I think what would happen to you in there. And he says, "I have a thought. Now tell me what I must know." And then so he goes to the, I don't know what you call it, a gambling den. Yeah, okay, so gambling table, sure, Your Highness, it's right over there. So the guy lets him in, even though he looks super weird. No questions asked,
This is a good solution, right? Like he's tried it the legit way. Yeah. He fell into desperate time, nearly robbed a bank, but now he can go outside of society's norms, go to this gambling, not just normal gambling, but cheaters. And he can use his powers to outdo basically the bad guys.
Right.
So if this dice is rigged, he can use his powers. What's it says? Cosmically control the result of every throw.
Yeah. So he does. He cleans up.
Of course, they're not going to stand for that.
Nope. Yeah, you're not supposed to win, right? So, his pockets are just full of cash. So he takes off. I love this, man.
Yes.
It's got the brass knuckles and everything. But yeah, they're gonna get their money back. Boom. I mean, this is like totally Kirby here.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool. So they whoop up on him for a bit.
And he's not fighting back at all. They're actually surprised by it.
Yeah.
And I was surprised too, because then we get to this third panel. I was like, "What, did they knock him out?"
I know, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. Like, I mean, obviously, it's like sort of like letting it happen, but
Yes. Well, we get the confirmation that he let it happen. He says, "I have not resisted in order to learn the extent of their savagery." And to think they
yeah,
call themselves human. But I like this note, right? Because humanity is not equal. We do have people who are working to do good and people who are actively working to do the worst.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They beat him good. He should have taken this.
Yeah.
Karate Master Course. It's only 99 cents. Anyway.
And then here comes the dude who was getting roughed up. He comes running out, and I thought for sure they were going to run him over. I was like, "Oh, here's this dude's end," because he says, "Don't stop for nothing."
That's right. Yeah, this guy's about to die. But then no, he's saved by the Silver Surfer.
Because he's seen enough.
Seen enough. Yeah, he had to save his new friend, and those guys had it coming. So
yes, and that's what's nice again, right? Like, there's a clarity. This is what I like. If we're going to read superhero comics, especially the majority of superhero comics, even though Silver Surfer can sort of be a moral gray, and how he makes his decisions. What I want ultimately is a clarity of heroism, right? And so these are bad guys. That's why he can cheat them to get because they have ill-begotten money. He can get it from them. That is a legitimate way for him to do it. And then he can rough these guys up because they are 100% bad. Right? Like, there's no confusion that these are not bad guys.
Yeah. And we just saw what they did to him.
Exactly.
But I do wonder here, does it say anything about this? I mean, are they dead?
No, he says right here, he says, "They shall live, for I did cushion their fall, and now accept their share of the money." So he does
look at
confirm.
this car.
I know. Yeah. I don't know if John, while drawing, John and Sal, if they intended him to live, but for sure, Stan Lee has come in and said, "They shall live."
I feel like that happened probably a lot with Stan Lee. He got stuff and he was like, "Dude, like, these guys
can't have to just kill everybody, even if they are bad guys."
Yeah, he had to write some stuff in there, do a little revision. Okay.
And then, of course, he gives this dude the money and says, "You're giving it me for nothing?" And he says, "No, quite the contrary. I've given it to you because you are a fellow being who is in need."
There you go. Yeah, pretty cool. So he takes off. It's him. Okay, yeah, he's stuttering, so am I. It's him. There really is a Silver Surfer. So people have been hearing about him.
Yes.
Man, this is like a great panel too. Like, you don't need to draw you still need to draw everything in super detail.
Right. We have a silhouette of buildings.
You just have a part of him.
Yeah. Fantastic clean, pose of him moving away. Slight lift to the trench coat.
Yeah. It's just good, man. It's good cartoon.
Super good. That drawing, when I saw that panel, I was like, "God dang, that is great!" Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He traced that.
I just love wearing clothes, man. I don't know why, but
it's everything about it is fantastic. But the
got a scarf.
Yes, the pant cuff leading into the pulled out away from where the actual leg is, bracing it into the shoe. All of it's so good, just so good.
Yeah. This board would be slippery with those shoes on, though.
Yes, and amazingly, we're not even halfway through this issue, but
we gotta get
somebody
moving.
else will try to surf with him, and we'll see just how hard it is to be on that board.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh man, yeah, we gotta get going. Yeah, so he returns. He's got the money. It's gonna help him buy the equipment that he needs.
This part I did not particularly love. So he says, "Hey, make a little noise next time." I didn't hear the door click. He says, "Forgive me. I willed it open with a cosmic thrust." And I just don't particularly love thrust because it sounds a little more aggressive in a way that doesn't it doesn't add up. He's like, "I opened the door silently with a thrust."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he was probably immersed in learning something.
That could be. He smashed the door open and just didn't hear it.
Yeah, his door's destroyed. Yeah, so he gets to work and starts designing this thing that's going to help him, hopefully.
try to get him out. So then we get more montage because time is actually passing. It doesn't, it's not, and this is not, I love this. He says, I'm good, but I'm no Galactus. Even Reed Richards would have trouble with this one.
Yeah.
This gives us an idea, because we don't really understand the science of what he's going for. So he just, this is something that either, whoever's, if it's 100% Stan Lee, whatever, it's a good job of giving us an idea of the struggle that he's going through.
Yeah. Yeah. And we get another nice montage here, I don't know. Do people do stuff like this anymore?
I don't know. Neither one of us read modern comics.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I like
it. Is cool.
Stuff. I feel like I have a decent amount of his work. I don't remember him doing montages this often, and I wonder if it's just because his issues just
requires
so packed full of
it requires the passage of time in a way that forced him. And just while we're paying attention here, we got this nice drawing of Silver Surfer's head mixed in. We don't need that, but because this is a Silver Surfer comic, and we get a cool drawing of his face just to remind yes, this is circling around the purpose of our character,
right?
And it makes it cool and exciting, right? Like you could have these panels which are still good, but now it's actually cool and exciting because there's a Silver Surfer head mixed in.
For sure. Yeah, and so he says, I can't create enough power to smash the force field, but maybe he could find a way to deceive it or trick it into thinking it's.
Which I like. I like that he's like, I didn't figure out the answer perfectly. I had to work my way around it to an answer.
Yeah. So then a few days later, it came as soon as I received your summons. Have you found a way to shatter the barrier? Not exactly, pal, but that doesn't mean I failed. I found a way to disguise your own molecular structure so that the barrier may not be activated when you approach. I think it's worth a try.
And this, I was thrilled. I was like, oh, cool. Not only does he have this gun back, but now he's got a whole 90s extreme outfit. I was like, this is actually cool.
Yeah. I wonder if Rob Liefeld will create a
part of the inspiration, possibly. Yeah.
This is like early Cable or something. And so, since he had no power source great enough, I must wear the device so that my own body can provide the energy. Another good solution. Then I am to bounce repeated blasts in the direction of the barrier, blasts which will serve to confuse the automatic field. But even as the crucial moment draws near, energy blasts flashing above the perimeter of Earth, why do they occur now while the stranger approaches?
See, I like this because of what Silver Surfer wants. He has met the scientists that caused this creation of, and because he's shooting these beams, he has alerted what is going to turn out to be our antagonist.
Yep. Yeah. So we're pretty. I mean, how long is this issue?
It's like we're on page 20 now. I don't know how many pages, but I was like, this is still going.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that too. Like, it's weird because I'm looking at an omnibus, so I don't know. I guess maybe it kind of picks up from here.
It looks like with ads and the cover scanned, there's 68 pages.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. So if there's a number near the end, we'll find out just how many store pages there are.
Yeah, I mean that's gotta be like bigger than a regular issue, right?
It has to be. It makes me curious. Was this special for Silver Surfer? Is this how many pages there were back in the average, late 60s comics? Oh yeah, because there's two. There's not just a Silver Surfer. There's a backup story as well.
Oh, okay. I guess it didn't have it in the omnibus. It's still felt extra long though.
Okay, so I got to the last page. It's 39 story pages in total for Silver Surfer.
Oh, okay.
So we got 19 more. So we're literally halfway.
Yeah, I wonder if the other issues were also extra long. No wonder it felt so long. I was like, dude, there's so much in this issue. But yeah, so we get introduced to this guy, the Stranger. So while the Stranger approaches,
I never heard of this dude, so I did not have a trading card of him, but I was shocked to see that apparently he originally shows up in X-Men number 11, and then here in a little bit he'll talk about a fight with the Hulk, so he was getting around.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a lot of these guys from the Marvel Universe handbooks, and I remember thinking back in the, I guess the 90s at some point, dude, I've never heard of any of these characters.
Yeah.
And now they've popped up in places and stuff, and it's oh, okay, they actually, and I've read older comics and whatnot, and it's oh, okay, they were around, But yeah,
I do kind of dig.
Yeah.
I was excited to learn that he was fighting the different. That's kind of something I do kind of like about like superhero comics and stuff. Sometimes it can be done very badly, but it's like it's cool that he showed up in X-Men. Then the next time he showed up was in Hulk, and Hulk fought. Now he's in Silver Surfer. So it's cool to have these villains move around. In different titles.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I was thrilled. Here in a second, we're gonna get some. Like, oh, cool. We're gonna see John and Sal put together to draw the X-Men or the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Like, we just get a little tease of how would they draw them.
No, I love that stuff too. Even if it is like just one panel or something.
Yeah.
But yeah. So he says, can it be that they're aware of my mission? Can they have learned that I intend to erase all life on Earth? So he's here to wipe us out. Earth, so small, so weak, and yet more dangerous than 1,000 plagues. I remember when I first appeared upon that fateful world. So then he kind of gets into his interactions.
And though this is, distracting once, like I don't really want to go back in another character's background, but this was necessary in the time for these 60 comics. Not everybody had access to these comics, so you might not have, and like I didn't know who this character was, so it was helpful, but I also don't want to read all this.
Right. Yeah. So I that's a good point. Like that people didn't necessarily like have all this backstory and stuff like we do now. And you can't just look things up. But yeah, that I guess that's what like I was feeling as I was reading it. It's like, dude, now we're getting this guy's backstory,
yet another
backstory, and so on and so forth. But yeah, so he says the slightest manifestation of my power, such as the elementary ability to walk on air, was enough to make the primitive humans gasp in awe. But it was those with superpowers that I sought. So, and it was not long before I found them. For then, I was interested only in research and collecting specimens from different far-off worlds. Specimens such as the Sinister, Magneto, and his so-called Masters of Evil. And we see the X-Men here, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
He just gives more of this history here. And so I selected two who would best serve my purpose, for I was eager to leave that small but savage world, and leave it I did, as only the stranger can.
I occasionally love this. Like I did love earlier when Silver Surfer, when the gambling guy is like, "Are you kidding? I'm not going to teach you." He's like, "I have thought, and now tell me what I must know." Like it's just such a powerful like. Oh, yeah. It's. The thing he's saying is mundane, and yet Stan Lee helps to make it. And leave it I did, as only the stranger can.
Yeah, I like. There's that Mobius story that Stan Lee wrote, and I love the dialogue in it. But
I don't know if I've ever read that.
Yeah, we should read it sometime. It's cool, and the art is amazing. So he takes off. He hates the Earth, calls it a festering sore on the body of the universe, which is like really gross. Like a malignant infection. Geez, a festering sore wasn't enough. It must be destroyed before it can spread throughout the cosmos.
And thankfully, we get more backstory, but he speeds this one up to a single
yeah. Once again, he returned to teach humanity the folly of its warlike ways, but as fate would have it, my mission was in vain. And then, the tie-in with the Hulk. But the stranger must always finish what has been started. Thus do I return again with this null life bomb. So I wonder if that was whose idea that was. I feel like that's a Kirby idea that got used,
Could be.
Life bomb.
And I do like this, where they're getting more in like surreal, perhaps, more ambitious, and like this, because he's basically just talking about his plans, and so we're making it more visually interesting.
Yeah. So he says it would be a simple matter to deposit on the surface of the Earth, there to await the awesome moment of detonation. And when that moment comes, Earth will be purified, cleansed of human life, unable to sow the germs of hatred among the distant stars. So it's really all about, this whole thing is just about like humans and
what they're the dark. So like if you're getting, and this is something that it's really interesting to see it, playing out in the 60s, because it shows that it probably has just been since the dawn of time, where we have this exploration of what humans are capable of. And because we're capable of both good and evil can often blind some people to like, as if this is the only thing that mankind, this is what they're going to do. They're only going to cause destruction. They're only going to be this terrible sore. Like even in the modern world, we often have quite a few, and I was susceptible to it when I was a little younger. This like idea that mankind is a disease on planet Earth, and that, like,
cancer. Joe Rogan called humans a cancer. It's just
that's stupid. Lame and stupid. Yeah, but that's the point. Is that, like, but when you're hearing all that, you're being, as I was a young kid, I was hearing this stuff like, oh, humans are so bad, like all this stuff, and you start thinking, oh man, humans are bad. Yeah, we should get, we should be eradicated. Obviously, I don't believe that anymore, but it makes sense if you're a being. And that's what they're playing with here. This is the storyline, right? Silver Surfer sees the potential of how humans can be bad. He's experiencing it. He's letting them literally beat him up. Whereas this guy is taking an active. Obviously, Silver Surfer's not going to try and wipe out human life. This guy's taken. So he is the actual, extreme of this potential viewpoint.
Right. Yeah, and then with Al Harper. I mean, he's helped the Silver Surfer for no gain of his own.
Exactly. This is the human part, right? And I was thinking about that myself, like how this person, and this is what's so cool about humans, to me. One of the things that's really cool about humans, that basically this humanoid falls out of the sky. Now, Harper does reveal that he's heard of Silver Surfer, right? Like, it's not a total mystery of who this person is, but he's in trouble, and so he just helps him because he's in trouble, right? And that's what's cool. Like, so many times that, like, if you're walking, some of the amazing videos and stuff we can see online is you have total strangers, somebody walking down the street, but somebody gets hurt, and humans just rush over to help. They don't know who this person is, but they rush over to help because that's what we can do as a group, right? Because obviously we want that to be, like, if I got into trouble, I want strangers to rush up and be like, oh, let's help him so he survives or something,
Yeah.
And so we have to pay that back forward. But it's cool that that's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. So he sees these like flashes from Earth. That's why he doesn't just immediately like detonate this bomb.
Yes. He thinks that mankind's onto him.
Yeah. He wants to know what's going on. So one lone being who is not of the planet Earth, I bid you hold, attend the words of the stranger.
Which is... Oh, so I'm sorry. Obviously, the Silver Surfer is completely oblivious to, he's just sitting there shooting around trying to get out of the planet. And suddenly this guy shows up. Huh? What? Like, hey, let me talk to you for a second.
He's the, what would his name be? He's riding an asteroid chunk.
That's a good question. Because obviously we don't want to repeat Surfer. He's the Comet Cruiser.
There you go, Comet Cruiser. I like it. Yeah, so that they meet the stranger. Even in far off Zen-La, his name is breathed in whisper. So he's aware of this dude.
He's aware of it. I do appreciate that, but I also did think it was kind of silly because the stranger is like, it's not a great name. There's a DC character called the Stranger that I think fits way better with that moniker. Yeah. Because you can imagine, like, in all these different galaxies and stuff, somebody's like, have you heard of the Stranger? It's like, you mean that old man with no pants?
Does he even have a shirt? I mean, he's a sleeveless, it looks like. Oh no, I guess he's got like an undershirt. Yeah, these old costumes, man, good stuff. His power is virtually without known limit, but never has he stooped to imperil a planet. So.
And I like this, right? So literally, Silver Surfer had no idea this dude was even there until he calls out to him, and then he immediately goes on basically to champion mankind. So as though men seem mad, they are not without hope. So he's exchanged. He's never met the Stranger. The Stranger says, "Hey, I'm going to kill everybody down there," and he immediately takes the stance of championing them.
Yeah. Well, he's made a friend already at this point.
Yes.
So this is a great drawing of the Stranger too, with the cape and everything.
Oh yeah, that's dynamite. Yeah.
So cool.
Also, I love the angle of that third panel. Like underneath the gun, kind of like it's just it's just fun.
Yeah,
we're just having fun.
Framed up real nice. So no, their time has run out.
Well, let me be clear before we jump out. I like what he says here. He says, with the passing of the years, they will gain maturity, meaning that he's seeing that mankind will rise and become better.
Yeah, they have potential. And then he pushes back. No, the time has run out. Once the null life bomb that really rolls off your tongue is triggered, nothing short of death can stop it. Then it shall never be triggered. So he's going to stop this dude. You have not the power to thwart the stranger.
And this is what I like. We're now let's get superhero here. Let's get some conflict, battle, literal battle.
Yeah, I am the Silver Surfer. If power is needed, I'll not be wanting. That's cool, man.
Yes.
The Silver Surfer, master of cosmic forces. Then I must make myself unsolid, and now no cosmic bolt can hurt me. That's a great solution.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You've been forewarned. Remain on Earth, and you'll surely die. And now farewell. He has vanished.
I don't think we needed that dialogue. I think we got the idea. But I mean that particular line. He's vanished.
Yeah. So Silver Surfer heads back.
Must be warned. Mankind must be warned. And how can I make them believe?
Brief moments later, I must be as nutty as you for swallowing that yarn. But you wouldn't have turned from the barrier just to play a gag on me. So
okay, there's a couple things here. One, I like that by all indications, Silver Surfer can escape. He can get the very thing he wants, which is to escape planet Earth, right?
Yeah.
But right on the cusp of that, he shifts his own personal goals to go back and save him. Now that just shows that he's prioritizing being good over his own personal wants. However, I do think that the next couple of pages are kind of a waste of our time, and that he's like, how can I ever make anybody believe? He's a literal silver alien who once was the herald of a planet eating, and if this guy can't just come down and be like, hey, the planet's in danger,
right? And he can do amazing things. I mean, he could just show trust me, man, I can do some wild stuff, and I'll do it right now to prove. And then mankind, you're full of beans. Yeah. Well,
and unfortunately, he sends. So who knows what? So I'm sorry. Go back. Does Silver say what he's going to do? So he says, "I know you wouldn't turn, but wait here while I go to the cops. One look at you, and they won't believe anything. It's ridiculous. I just don't care for this conflict. This is silly. Is he literally going to sit in the house?
Yeah, right. He's going to fix that door he destroyed earlier. No, yes. I mean, this is all for Al Harper, right? To establish again, just more people not being good,
and I think you can do that, but do it in a better way. That's all. So okay, one of the things that we're talking about frequently is how we might solve something that we're not particularly happy with, right? So the idea is there, meaning that while instead of him saying, Silver Surfer, you sit here in this chair while I go do this dumb stuff, Silver Surfer should have said, I will start scouring the planet for the no life bomb, or try to find some. So Silver Surfer's doing a thing, and Harper says, I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to go to the forces, to the people in charge or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a slight reframe to get the exact results, but in a way that doesn't feel quite as ham-fisted in its conflict and drama.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because then he goes here. So the first person he approaches is what? A judge. And the guy says, I don't believe you. And then because then I was like, because it starts opening up doors that are a little silly, right? Okay, if you did need to warn that the entire planet, all of mankind is about to, who are you going to go to? Mm-hmm. Who are you going to go to? He went to a judge first. Probably not a great solution. And then in his dialogue, he covers what he does in the next, because he says, I've been to the cops, the army, and the FBI. And so we just, instead of showing, show me a colonel, show me I don't know, something like that, rather than this random judge. But then it raises the question of well, how did he get there? He went to the army. What does that mean? There's no single, he went to the FBI. Did he literally drive up to the FBI headquarters and be like, mankind's about to get it? There's a silliness here that I don't like.
Right. Yeah. It's not working great. It's hopeless. I've been to the cops, army, FBI. The only ones I miss are the Boy Scouts. He should have went to the Boy Scouts. How in blazes can I expect anyone else to believe my story when I feel like a full-time nut for believing it myself.
Okay, let me stop that again right there. This is one of the things that drove me nuts as a kid, and it drives me nuts now. So often in a lot of these types of stories, we're reading Marvel superhero comics. We see fantastic things almost on every single page. They live in a world of the fantastic. So for him to be on and on about like how hard it is, like I don't even believe it myself. It's like, well, what does Silver Surfer have to do for you to get on board with this?
Yeah.
It's once again, it's a creative decision that just drives me up the wall. It always has. Like frequently in like old monster movies or scary movies or something. It's like we're there because some fantastical element is happening. Let's say Freddy Krueger, and the main character's running around saying, "There's a man who kills us in our dreams," and everybody's like, "You're crazy! Like, don't do that. Let's just tell the actual that's not interesting conflict. The interesting conflict is a man who is literally an interesting conflict in your dreams. The interesting conflict is that there is a crazy supernatural being who has set a bomb on the planet. That's interesting. It's not interesting that he's going up to a judge and being like, please, you got to believe me."
Right. So they determine they have to find it themselves. And
so let's just go there. Let's cut all this nutty garbage and go straight to the decision. We're going to do this ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, you really could have just said that, right? Like,
exactly.
Nobody's going to believe this whole thing, man. It's like, where am I?
Or even if they
go? Or
don't even have him say that. He said, who are we going to tell? How are we going to? There's no time, right?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? I'm going to drive over to the president and tell him, there's no time. We got to find this ourselves.
Yeah.
And thankfully, Harper has a solution.
Yeah. He's got the detector, right? So here he says, where does it say that? Of course, I forgot your flying board. Wait, I'm going with you. Oh, did he say it?
He must have said it in this previous version. Because first they don't know where the bomb is. So yeah, you would just cut all that garbage out and have Surfer say, we have no choice. We'll have to find the bomb ourselves. And it could be anywhere. And then Silver Surfer says, no one knows this planet better than I. I've cruised over every mile. Now I got to do it again. Okay, so he hasn't indicated that he actually has this device yet.
Yeah, so he just says, I'm going with you on your flying board. And then, he takes off. He almost falls off. This is a great gesture and stuff. I'm falling. It was my fault. I didn't think.
Now, I did like this. I think there's a realism there, right? Like that if you were to try and just stand on it with him, and he's not used to just normal humans, let alone anybody on it with him. So I love this bit of realism. Like, of course, the guy will go flying right off.
Yeah. Yeah. And he says that. And it's great the way he catches them.
Yes.
Best reason to bring him back. No. Yeah, he says he should take him back, and he's like, "No, dude, like I gotta go with."
I want to see it through. There must be some way. I don't. Okay, now this is probably where we're getting a mix up between what the artist was intending and what Stan Lee is now doing, because so he's already grabbed this device, but he's saying there's got to be some way. Well, obviously he has the plan already, right? It's not some way. He's got the idea, but now we're getting him indicating that he doesn't have the idea yet.
Right. Yeah. So and he says, "What is this instrument you brought?" It's a portable Geiger scope. I've designed it to react to foreign, unearthly substances when I was searching for meteorites, which ties into the earlier stuff.
Yes.
Which is why they did that, probably. Maybe it'll come in handy now. So then as city after city speeds past, upon my board, we can discover vast distances in a matter of minutes. Cover vast distances. We must not pause till we have found the stranger. Hold it. Slow down. They are detecting things. We may be luckier than we dared hope. My Geiger scope throbbing like mad. Whatever's affecting it is in that direction. That's great, man. It's like little.
Yes. And I also like this is the point of in terms of coincidence, but we don't have to speed it up. Yeah, they got lucky. It turns out the bomb's closer than they thought. Perfect.
This is it, Surfer. Let's go downstairs. And then this, man. This is great.
Yeah, that's really excellent.
Phew, man, they're really zooming, dude. Seconds later, while I hunt for the bomb, you better go after the stranger. One thing about that Joe, he sure don't dawdle. So then he takes off.
He can sense the stranger.
Yeah. And then, upon that peak, a strange and awesome glow. And now I seem to hear a spatial voice. Surfer, approach me.
Once again, cut out that I hear a spatial voice. Obviously, if he's talking out loud, he hears him.
Yeah. You are more akin to me than they, for do we both not claim a mutual heritage? Are we both not beings from the remotest reaches of space? Therefore, once again, I say, leave the bestial humans. Though they are doomed, you yet may live. Answer now or nevermore. So, and the Silver Surfer says, my every waking hour is spent seeking escape from this chaotic world, but even if I were free to go, the Surfer chooses to remain, to fight for those who have tormented him. So that's I think an important point of like,
yes, this is the hero, right? Making a sacrifice for others, a self-sacrifice for others,
people that don't deserve it, even, you know.
Yes.
So that's what elevates him beyond just like
into actual heroic actions or being a true hero.
Yeah. Then you are truly mad, and their fate shall be yours. He creates this neo-physical vacuum, whatever the heck that is, changes into a field of living force. So this is pretty trippy.
Yeah.
That sort of thing used to always like intimidate me when I was younger. Like, oh, dude, what if I have to draw some like really weird, like negative zone thing, or how would I do it? I don't know how to do it. There's no reference for that. Like, what do you draw? And then you see, like, man, you just draw shapes and colors and things like that.
So I like this idea here. I'm gonna guess that John and Sal, when they're created, like, I don't know, I don't know exactly where the collaboration, is it just pencils and inks? Are they talking about story, plot, since they're brothers and they're working together? But I'm going to guess that what they intended here was basically warping Silver Surfer away. And it's Stan Lee who comes in and makes this a lot crazier with this like neo force field. And he talks about how the stranger moves. I'm carried in his wake. I can't see. I can't hear. All I can do is feel the blazing eye. Like, I don't think, that's awesome. It's really fun.
Yeah.
But I assume he's probably just being transported in the original concept here. Because then it says, the ordeal's ended. I'm myself once more, and I'm thrust upon the pavement of a city street.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy in a really fun way that I think probably Stan Lee really upped. Mm-hmm. Whereas probably the stranger was like, be gone! And he's like, oh, I'm in the city now.
Yeah. Oh, and then we get this nice reveal here. People flee in panic, and above me is the cause. Lie still, you insignificant, gleaming worm. The stranger is not done with you. And he smashes him with his giant foot. Offer you life, but you chose to cast your lot with them. You cannot bring peace to the galaxy by so monstrous a deed. This is kind of like Thanos.
Yes, I like this concept, right? Like, that's a great point. Like, if you're trying to do good, but you're doing tremendous evil along, like, that's a great source of conflict.
Yeah. It's also like, I mean, Galactus isn't trying to do good, but I mean that's what Silver Surfer was fighting back against, was him just wiping out life, So yeah, they kind of go back and forth. They have a little battle.
And I like his comment. He says, by thoughtless compassion, which can be its own problem, right? I think we see that in a lot of modern day world stuff, is there's a lot of compassion that a lot of people are spouting, but it hasn't much depth in their thought. Like just a small example, the one off the top of my head is I had an ex-girlfriend who was talking about like returning California, I think, to to the Hispanics, I think, or like the Mexican or something. No. I think it was returning it to Native Americans or something. But I was like, yeah, but what about when the Mexicans conquered it? Wouldn't you give them back to them first? Like, who's the person you give it back to?
Yeah.
Like, there's, yes, you're compassionate, but like once you start looking below, it's just the curse of like, oh, white people are bad. How much? You're like, yeah, but other people are bad too. When does the bad stop? Presumably, It stops with the Native Americans who never did anything bad.
Yeah. It's a good question. But so he blasts him in his eyes. My eyes. The bolt has struck my eyes.
The bolt has struck my eyes. We needed that because him covering his face doesn't. I needed him to tell me exactly where it got hit.
Yeah, I mean, Like, you wouldn't need this at all if you'd seen it in his eyes. But I guess
he also says, but he says, but the stranger shall not see it. So triumph may indeed, but it's so that's fine. I don't need the second one where the bolt has struck my eyes.
My eyes twice. So he's blinded. He crashes into this building, which is pretty cartoony. I mean, this isn't.
Absolutely. I'm enjoying a giant man in the battle, because this is the kind, like they're fighting. I want that. But there is also, a silliness, unfortunately, to this that isn't quite capturing the level of drama that I want out of what's actually, being here.
Yeah.
Or rather, the heart of this conflict.
This is a great Silver Surfer pose.
I agree.
No matter, I shall keep you here on Earth until your bomb has been destroyed. You puny, pathetic fool. The bomb contains its own defense mechanism. Even if found, it will cause the death of any who tampers with it. Now, is this going to be important? I wonder. Then I must warn Al Harper. No. Oh, you will warn no one. This time you shall not escape me, and your cosmic blast is wasted on me now, for I have surrounded my body with a protective field. It's really just like stuff you would do as like a kid.
Oh yeah.
Like I blasted you. No, dude. Like I have a force field up. I'm like, what? Surfer, you have chosen sides, but the choice you made was wrong. What is this? Even through my protective field, my fingers burn. They writhe in pain.
I do like the way that I do. So once again, I think a lot of the visuals don't need this additional dialogue to explain it. Like the colors are doing quite great to show that his hands are heating up. And then the worst line, obviously, is the next one where he says, "Your cursed cosmic power has set you free again." I can see that.
Right. Yeah, I guess that was kind of like a common thing.
It's compensating in a bad way.
Yeah,
it's compensation. They don't need to be doing that compensation. This is what I used to think. When I was younger, I thought that was how comic book writing was supposed to work. Mm-hmm. You always write what is being shown. Like the first time I really truly noticed, I was reading Ninja Turtles, one of the original Mirage graphic novels, and Splinter is fighting the Mousers, and the Mouser, he's like, "That Mouser, it's biting me on the tail. I must hit it with my stick." And he's hitting it with his stick.
Right.
So, yeah.
This is also kind of bad, too. Like, he's like, free to be dashed to your death on the pavement below. It's like, dude, he's Silver Surfer, man. Like, he was just in outer space.
Yes. The odds of him getting killed by that are probably very low.
Then he's like, never. Not when my
board still flies.
Like, he would have been at all. But anyway,
you could cut all that dialogue, that kind of dumb dialogue out, and it's still exciting that he fell out and then saves himself with his board, right? We don't need to dramatize this if he's gonna. I'm going to fall 10 feet to my death. Right. It's still cool that he flies out and then boom, his board comes in.
Yeah, it's awesome the way he grabs it and stuff, and it's really cool, man. So we pick back up with Al. He's searching, and he gets harassed by these dudes.
This is where things are starting to get a little too silly for the sake of drama once again. So if you'll scroll up just a little bit. So this man walks by, presumably many people like this in the city have walked by, but this guy says, "I never saw him before. Hey, what's he got strapped to his chest?" It's some kind of scientific gizmo. Quick, mess him up.
Yeah. Well, it does make you wonder if it's like kind of like, because he's a black guy, and so you're sort of like getting this extra, I don't know, people are sort of like treating him unfairly because of that,
that could be, and if that were I would prefer it actually if that was, because it's silly right now. Like, there's a guy, I've never seen him before. Out of the millions of people in this city, I never saw that one. Yeah, and he's got a thing on his chest. Yeah, so I'd prefer it if they were just assholes who were like, "Hey, what are you doing, fella?
Right,
you look like you're in the wrong part of town. What's that what's that gizmo on your chest?" But
again, it's kind of weird that they would do that, right?
Well, in that case, they're just being assholes but we understand why they're being, asshole. Whereas in this case, they're like a bizarre, in a way that is too silly, right? If they're picking on him because he's black, I get that. If they're picking on him because they haven't seen him before and he's got something on his chest, I don't understand. Yes, some people really can do that. Some people just walk by.
Yeah, I feel like that was kind of like maybe like Stan Lee's, it's kind of trying to show that, like how things were in society a little bit, trying to shine a light on that somewhat. But it's not like overtly stated,
And it's not so much that I need that because I'll admit I didn't read all of this because I started not caring about this exactly. So I'm getting a little bit of what's that?
Well, it's also like longer than I just was thinking it was like a regular issue, but
Yes. And so, but right here, there's something happening that I think is getting kind of messy once again between our different creators, right? And so what is starting to happen is these guys are starting to crowd around him, and he says, "What if the Giant's a robot and this Joker signaling him with that?" So they start making these kind of crazy leaps in order to justify once again, in order to create kind of this bizarre conflict in a way that's just bizarre, right? Like they're starting to say some wild stuff that doesn't make sense that people would make these crazy jumps, especially in the contra. Like he's running like, man, I'm gonna have the hardest time in the world telling people that there's a bomb on the planet, and this guy's like, hey, what if that Giant is and this guy, it's like doesn't either they're willing to believe crazy stuff or they're not.
That's true, but it does lead us to this panel here where we get to see Al kicking butt, man. He's not
Which
just
is cool.
A scientist and a rock collector.
Yeah.
He also he can knuckle up when he needs to.
And we get a lot of unnecessary additional dialogue. So lucky for me, he left his engine running. Once I slam the door and lock it, I'll be off. I don't need cut all that, please. But this is good. He says, hey, he's making off with Charlie's car. Now I do like that, meaning that this is a justifiable reason to chase somebody. Hey, that guy's stealing my friend's car.
Right. Yeah.
Because he's like, they're coming after me. like these guys are really, really putting a lot of effort into hassling this dude.
Yeah, it's like you like kind of need these pieces, but they're not like you said, not like cleanly maybe always working together, because later you see like why they're like
why
they need to sort of chase after
writers, whether that be John, Sal, and Stan all combined, are doing this. Yes.
Yeah.
But they didn't get in a good way.
Right. Yeah. They take out after him. He knows where the bomb is, and he's racing to get there. He shakes him at the railroad crossing, which that's cool. I believe that. Right. Maybe a train's coming.
Let me back up real quick because I just want to make it clear. Right. He doesn't even have to be black. Some people are just jerks. So if he's wandering around in a part of town that he shouldn't be in, and people are just going to hassle him for being there, and maybe they Pokemon Go. Do you remember when that erupted a few years ago?
Oh yeah.
There was a video I saw where this naive fool was running around in the city at night trying to catch, and he was live streaming on YouTube or something, and he was like, I'm blah 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 blah, and you can see this guy come up from behind him, and then the dude clocks him, steals his phone, and takes off with, because the dude was walking around with stuff that people want to steal. So if you go into the wrong part of, let me recast this. So Al Harper, he is trying to track a signal. He's not really paying attention to where he's going, right? Yeah. He goes into the wrong part of town. Boom, some toughs are there that are like, hey, what are you doing here? This is our territory. Hey, maybe that'll give me some money if I steal that from you, right? So then he has to fight his way out. And he's like, and he jumps into one of their cars and takes off. And of course, they want to get his car. There's a way of understandable human behavior that he made a mistake that antagonized the wrong people. And then he stole their car, so of course they want to chase him to get their car back.
And he has a thing, so it is kind of be like, oh, dude, like, we could probably sell that.
Exactly.
Whatever, give him a reason to try and get
it let's from him.
Which would
fight.
Good, too, because he's using that to find the bomb.
Yeah, I can't just get rid of you. I can't let you take this from me. I gotta save mankind.
Right, yeah. That would have been better.
And it would have nothing to do with him being black. He could have, of course, back in the 60s, this probably could have been a perfect opportunity to explore that. But I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be black that these people are messing with it.
Sure. So he finds it. It's in this rock. or under the rock or something.
No, it's in the rock. That's what he discovers. It's actually inside the rock. Now, this is important because he's a rock collector. You see? He's a rock collector, so he found a rock.
He knows exactly how to smash this rock in half. So there's only one way to find out. Smashes it, sure enough. It's in there. This wasn't made on Earth, but a bomb's a bomb. Whatever someone can design to explode, someone else can deactivate.
Now, I like that level of confidence. He's fighting literally somebody who's whispered across multiple planets and galaxies, whose technology probably far exceeds, and yet he's like, I can do this.
Yeah, man.
Somebody built it. I can. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I do think it's foolish, but I do like his confidence.
He is very sweaty.
Yes.
He's definitely feeling the pressure a little bit.
Yes.
So it's booby trapped. It contains its own built-in defense. Just touching it released a spreading vapor. It's like a smoky acid covering me, choking me, burning my clothes, my flesh, my lungs.
Now, I like all that, but I want it. I want to experience. I don't want to be told that. I want to see it. Now, I do see that his clothes are getting torn up, but I want to experience. I want to feel that.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get like a little close up or something of his face like melting off or whatever. But I can't stop. I mustn't stop. Have to finish what I started for the sake of everyone on Earth. So I mean, dude, he's sacrificing.
He's making the ultimate sacrifice, right? This is what true heroism is.
He's even trying to say those stupid jerks.
Yes.
That he just beat up. And even as the very breath of life is agonizingly drained from his tortured body, Al Harper works on until at last the valiant heart can beat no more. I've done it. The bomb can't ever. Ugh.
See, I love all this. I just want it told in a much better way. I want to really experience.
It's not enough pages, man.
That could have been enough pages. They cut some of that other garbage out.
Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, it's just a little too much happening, you know.
Yes.
And at that, I wonder, like, if that was, was it Jim Shooter that said, like, every comic's somebody's first comic.
So I believe that is his.
Included the recap or whatever. So, like you said, when they were introducing these characters and telling their backstory and stuff, was that like a common thing that they were doing?
Well, so this would predate Jim Shooter, of course, being editor.
Yeah, well, I know that, but
but I think that the Hulk was a single panel. That was a perfect example of how to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't need 2 pages literally showing panels from those stories. We just need to say it at first, like,
they did the X-Men, they did the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, like that was all like tied together. Like, if do we need it?
If we need it, we just need a quick. We truly don't need it, right?
Yeah.
But if they feel like they need to reference those, they can be done quickly, like the Hulk version. Obviously, it can be done quickly. They did it in this issue, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think the artistry of what Jim Shooter was talking about is when you can fold in those things in a story, where it's progressing the story. It's not just recap, because those are just recap, right? He's just saying, originally in issue 5, I did this and this happened, and then I left, right? It's not actually propelling the story forward. So that's part of what was, as a creator, you have to work harder, right? Because it's easy to just do a recap. It's harder to tell information that the reader might need to know as you progress story forward.
Right.
But do we actually need to know that he fought the mutants, the X-Men, and got stuff with? No, we don't need that. We just need to know that he's here to destroy Earth or the humans.
Right. Okay, so he's still fighting Silver Surfer. Realizes that the bomb was neutralized from his like handy dandy
signals going off,
signal belt or whatever. Our battle's ended. I leave.
Well, hold on. His dialogue here is important to the concept, the heart of the story. He says, it means that somewhere on this half-crazed planet, there was one man willing to give his life so that others might live. Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool, man.
And right here he says, I have misjudged the supremely savage yet strangely selfless human race. And this is something that excites me, in just about, anytime this happens, I'm going to be excited about in a story. And it can be done better at times than worse. But like in Edgar Wright's Cornetto trilogy, The third, and in my opinion, the weakest of the films is End of the World. Have you ever seen that one? I think that's what it's called, End of the World. It doesn't matter. The point is, there's a great moment in there that I do like, and yet is kind of lame at the same time, where the contradiction of mankind, just what he's saying right here, right? The supremely savage yet strangely selfless, right? Like we have these capabilities to be so bad, and yet we're also good, right? But sometimes that bad is our strength. In this case, the good outweighed the bad, but sometimes our bad is actually sometimes our strength too, which is what in like the Cornetto trilogy, the End of the World movie, it's the sheer sort of I can't remember exactly what the dialogue is, but it's that mankind can be as stubborn and as aggressive as it is that allows it to survive sometimes, right? So it's our savagery that sometimes can propel us forward.
Yeah,
against
that at World's End. Is that what you're talking about?
That might be what it's called. So there's Shaun of the Dead, then Hot Fuzz, and then with a third one, whatever that is.
Yeah, at World's End, I think is what it's called. Yeah, I didn't realize they were tied together.
Well, it's not that they're tied together so much as it's a conceptual trilogy. It's an apocalypse trilogy.
Oh, I see. Hot Fuzz, man. We should talk about that someday.
I love Hot Fuzz.
I love Hot Fuzz too. Anyway, yeah, it's great, man. I'm gonna watch it again, I think. But yeah, so he realized, man, like they're not all bad. And Silver Surfer's like, yeah, I told you so. And then he blasts off into space as a Fireface.
Okay, this is a little silly, right? I do like that Fireface, of course, but right here he says, "Our battle is ended. I leave as I found you. With but a gesture, I undo the carnage we have wrought." Like, there's no visual indication that that's happening at all. So it's just this additional dialogue that you can throw in, and I undo everything that happened.
Man, how mad was Buscema? He was like drawing this issue. It's like, how am I supposed to fit all this in here? And then Stan Lee
says,
had to.
"What of the one who perished, though?" He says, "Not even the stranger can restore a life." So even though he has supposedly undid all of the building and rubble and all that sort of stuff, he ultimately cannot restore Harper's life.
He's a false god, that's why. But so we move on. Yeah, so something that I found out somewhat recently is that they brought this guy back to life, which bummed me out because I'm
what?
Like,
How did you learn this?
I don't know. I heard somebody talking about it.
This is why part of the reason why I don't want to read modern Marvel comics. Yeah, exactly. Is that like what you have is a lot of bad creators coming in and having a difficult task, admittedly. But part of that task is that you must fight against the worst storytelling tendencies. So, for example, to bring back Al Harper, to bring back Jason Todd, to bring back Gwen Stacy. These are the marks of truly weak and insufficient creators, right?
Yeah.
So, like, don't do that. Now, I know everybody loves that, and that's why I'm wrong and everybody else is right.
Well, it's like, dude, his sacrifice meant something, and then you just
then you undo all of it.
It all. But yeah,
because you're a weak creator who can't let something stand.
Well, it's just like I don't know how popular his character was. Probably not. He wasn't well known, I don't think. But
that doesn't have to matter, right? You can imagine though that whoever did this choice obviously was like, all right, I can't create anything new, so here's something I can do. And arguably it gets difficult in the world of the modern world when you know that, like, why would you create new things for these companies, right? Well, Eric Larson has a great comeback to that. He says, if you have only one idea and you're afraid you're going to waste it on Marvel and DC, you're not much of a creator. And I'm inclined to agree with that. Like, right? Like if your job is to write and draw and create for Marvel or DC or any other company that you're not going to own those properties, that's your job. And so if you can come to the table and bring, like, the reason why all of this stuff exists and is great is because they weren't holding back. They were creating full out, right? Jack Kirby was going crazy, and it paid off for him in the end, right? I think he died penniless and in misery.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But I think I don't know how it works with these companies now, but I mean, there is more compensation for like creating characters. I think you have like a little bit more of like you get residuals or something, right? Like if they use them later on and
I hope so, yeah.
Stuff. So I think it's gotten a bit better, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could see both. I could see both sort of perspectives on that. But yeah, anyway, so just to finish up here, Silver Surfer, he mourns his friend. This guy was kind to him and showed him that humans aren't a complete waste, and there are good ones, So
I actually did feel quite emotional, satisfying
yeah,
emotional feeling here at the end, where he says he'll have a tribute, and that tribute he shall have a flame that will burn eternally.
yeah, it's cool.
For you have been a hero, and he deserves some marker to always stand.
Yeah,
I dig it, love it.
No, yeah, it's like I thought it was, I mean, not you don't get like deaths that actually like mean much all the time in comics,
but that's the thing. They would have meant something back here. They still meant something at this time because bad creators haven't stepped in to undo that meaning. Death did mean something.
But he was also just like he was just a guy, that stepped up and did the right thing and helped out, who we think of as like the real hero or whatever. It really wasn't. It was really this Al Harper guy. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
And it's one would hope that at least I hope that the majority of people who read the Silver Surfer are thinking I hope that I am that kind of person, when push comes to shove.
Yeah, and you can be, right? We're all faced with moments in life, I think, where maybe not as epic as this, but there's definitely times where you see things and in your mind you're like, oh man, like I should do this, or it could be little.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we can listen to that voice that tells us like, hey man, like go help that person with their groceries or whatever it is,
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be something huge, but just help each other out, man. But,
exactly. And while this is not to undermine the great point that you just made, but I'm looking at this cover and well, I was looking at the cover early when we first looking at it. And I was like, it's an interesting choice to cast the Stranger in this color, this light. Mm-hmm. And I think it's actually a much smarter choice because he seems much more intimidating in this, like, solid kind of bluish lighting, or however you want to interpret that. Because if he was in his true colors, we would see that, he's got shorts on, his arms are bare. He's much less intimidating than he is here.
That's true. Yeah. They also had limited colors to work with, but it's amazing like what they did with such limited colors.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of fantastic rendering right there. There's a lot of dramatic lighting on it, on his face and all that sort of stuff. It just goes to show that if you cast him in these, like this kind of coloring, the Stranger could have been much cooler the entire issue, right? Like, why can't he be just like this? He's a total alien being. Why can't he just be this like weird bluish, color entirely?
Yeah. I wonder who designed him originally.
We'd have to go back to X-Men 11 apparently, and at that time, presumably Jack Kirby was doing a lot of those early issues, so stands a good chance that it might be Jack Kirby.
Yeah, could be.
And Jack Kirby was not always, he created a lot of really fantastic stuff, but there was some pretty lame stuff too,
Well, Galactus didn't have pants either
originally, which is.
I mean, he kind of had a similar outfit, and like he had like the short sleeve shirt or whatever, and like the pantsless look.
Yes, and so whoever decided to give him, full sleeves and pant legs, brilliant decision.
Yeah,
it took a character that was really embarrassing. But what's really bananas to me is how many characters have that kind of embarrassing look. Mm-hmm. I was like just talking about like Robin, for example, right? Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
That even still in the 80s, Robin is running around with his Speedos and his bare legs, like his bare thighs. That stunned me to discover, even in the 80s, you guys are still doing this?
Yeah. Do you ever, I had this thought the other day, man, and I was working on my own stuff, and I kind of like realized something that like would have been stupid if I hadn't caught it. And like it just, I was like, dude, like I wonder if there's anything else stupid that like
that you're not, yeah, you're
like I hope I catch it,
Well, so if I understand correctly, a lot of the superhero design originally comes from like professional wrestling outfits, right? Mm-hmm. Apparently, and so it makes sense when you see like Hulk Hogan or Bret the Hitman Hart, and they have their bare thighs. that works fine in that context, and originally, when Robin came out and he was, I don't know, like an actual little kid, maybe that was okay. But eventually we realized that wasn't that cool. And certainly by the 80s, they had realized that they shouldn't have Robin running around like that.
I don't know. I feel like that outfit was maybe less appropriate for a kid. I don't know. It's not good anyway,
Yes, Robin.
When tights are like the better solution, they're slightly better than the little trunks with bare legs.
The only time that I think it works is, and only when he's got his power activated, is Colossus. So only when Colossus has his steel skin can he have his bare thighs. The moment he reverts back to normal, then it's back to being, sort of weird and embarrassing.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you ever played the X-Men arcade game, he spends most of the time not steel. So most of the time he's walking. Yeah. Most of the time he's walking around with his pink skin.
Yeah. I mean, these things are of a time, So.
Oh, but that reminds me of something I wanted to bring up was the talking about the redesign of characters. Like Robin took decades to get into an actual place where his costume, and I'm of the personal opinion that striking the green out of his costume when he's just the red, yellow, and black is the best choice, right? Mm-hmm. No green on Robin. But talking about redesign, I saw a post recently on Twitter where somebody did a maybe just a thought exercise at best, which is how would you redesign Silver Surfer?
Yeah.
Well, there's my question to you.
That's tough, man. I don't know
because he doesn't. Why? You tell me why.
Well, he's so minimal, and it's kind of just what you need. I mean, you can do other things with him, but how do they improve the character?
Yes.
He doesn't need anything. Like he's just like a cosmic being. He doesn't need clothes. He doesn't need whatever. Although he looked pretty awesome in his trench coat. But we just make his trench coat silver.
It's funny. Like
hair.
He's oh, sorry. Go
ahead. I just give him like long hair, silver hair.
And that's the thing is like he's one of the few characters, and that's what I thought was so kind of remarkable about the concept or the thought experiment is he's basically reached perfection right out the gate because only by adding to him can you try to say this is a redesign, right? The only thing that I think you could do, my thought without adding to him, is to make him less human. Right, like if he's another creature from another planet, you could, you don't have to go crazy with it, but you could change features a little bit in order to highlight his that was Kirby's whole like problem with not being able to do the Silver Surfer, right? So in this omnibus, they have issue 19, which Kirby drew, and like. I mean, he basically looks the same, but I know that like personality-wise, he kind of wanted him to be, a little more detached. So I think that's kind of more like true to what the character was intended to be, but you never really got to see too much of that from Kirby. Meaning that his. Not quite the emotional being that we're seeing in the Silver Surfer.
I mean, look at that.
Yeah, that's great. The eyes are larger, gives him just a little bit more of an alienness to him.
Yeah. So I mean, but that he created him, right? So it kind of was just right from the get go.
Yeah.
It's tough when you have like things reduced down so much. I mean, there's like that famous like phrase, right? Kind of talking about that, like when you reduce something down to its like essentials, like anything you add to it would just detract from it. I forget like what the actual saying is, but that's kind of what's going on with him, or like there's another thing too about just like character design or like costume design partly these old characters, they're iconic because most of them, Spider-Man is kind of a little bit of an exception, but they're pretty simple. Like there's
Mhm.
not like a lot going on, they're not
Yes.
super complex designs, and so they're iconic. It's just like logos for businesses and stuff. Like they're simple for a reason because they're instantly recognizable and they're easy to remember.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Spider-Man is such an interesting example to me where any change to his original costume never is an improvement. Like,
no,
he's had multiple redesigns and like,
yeah,
like they'll try small things like, what if the pattern goes like this? Or what if the gloves go here, cut off here? And it's funny that like, it's just amazing. Like I'm often just surprised by it. It's like, it's crazy that he looks the best as his original design was,
yeah,
it's like you can't seemingly improve upon it.
yeah.
It's fascinating to me.
It's super frustrating because literally every movie has like tried to do something
Always.
a little bit different. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, just do the original thing, man. Like that's
Yeah.
the best. The black costume is pretty cool. That
The black costume is
best one.
but it's such a departure.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not the same thing.
It's not, but it's like that's why it's probably the best one.
Yes, exactly.
It's not trying to just like tweak this thing a little bit because again, like man, it's just you have what you need already. So if you change it, it's not going to be as good. At the very best, it'll be almost as good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then just while we're talking about redesign or redesigns, a character that I've cast my mind at a couple times is Iceman, where it's like the best looking Iceman in my opinion is from the Age of Apocalypse, the Astonishing X-Men version.
Yeah.
And yet, but that's not appropriate to the true character of Iceman. Yeah, he's very spiky, but that's not truly appropriate to the like that's it's an alternate universe where he's darker and more his personality isn't. So the true Iceman, like his original, the Jack Kirby design to me is one of the worst.
Snowball?
Where he's Snowball with his boots. He's literally running around in like rubber boots.
Yeah.
And then I also don't care for when he's like got the shaved looking head and he's just like all blocky ice or something,
really?
kind of like from the gym.
Like
that just doesn't do it for me either. Yeah. So to me, there's like I said,
he's
I think
basically Silver Surfer.
Exactly, but that's the problem. Is Silver Surfer looks cool as he is, whereas I don't think Iceman looks cool that way.
He even surfs around on like the ice.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, I mean, I like the ice slide or sled or however, bridge or whatever it is. I just think that there is a design I haven't seen yet to get the best Iceman with the true Iceman, the actual personality of Iceman.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I like the blocky one, I guess. That's the one that was around when I was younger.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I don't know. Are you going to try to design them?
I have. I've cast my way at it, trying to fuse. I mean, part of what is also difficult for me, as much as I'm not a person who really values realism that much, but when I think of a character, I have to like feel that character and I don't understand. My brain has a hard time imagining how Iceman moves. Like if he's solid ice, how is he rotating his shoulder?
Yeah.
Right. Like, so he doesn't, I like my brain just has a hard time accepting him as a being. Like I believe Colossus can run. I believe he's moving because like his, like, especially because John Byrne, I believe, was the designer. No, is it Dave Cockrum?
Mm-hmm.
But they have the individual coils that kind of gives a sense of organicness, as if it, whereas like if he was literally just like solid steel, it gets a little harder for my brain to accept that he's doing things. Right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I believe Thing could move because he's got a bunch of little pieces to him. I believe that there's like the capability for those rocks to like, I don't know, have some sort of shift and give.
Well, yeah. Ice is rigid, right?
I don't know. Exactly. So why doesn't he break?
You're gonna try to redesign Silver Surfer then, or not?
No, I don't think you can. The best, like I said, I don't think you can improve upon him. The best you could do is simply alter him to make him a little more alien. Yeah. And I don't know if that's an improvement. It's just something to do.
Yeah, I think you would have to do something completely different. Like I would just look at like, okay, Galactus is cosmic being, and he makes a herald to travel around. So maybe you could do something with that, right? Like, okay, that he needs to be designed to be able to like travel around these different places and find, suitable planets and stuff. So maybe he has like some, something that helps him do that, or that you could use to
Sure.
add to his design or something.
But see, I think that's exactly why I dig the original Silver Surfer so much, is that he doesn't have anything. He literally just a dude on a board that cruises around, be like, "Oh, this planet looks pretty good,"
Well,
boom, I'm off.
Board, so that doesn't really make any sense because he doesn't need that. Also, like I was thinking about,
but it's
Galactus.
Cool.
I guess so. I mean, it is cool, but it shouldn't be cool, man. Like he's on a surfboard, but flying around outer space.
It's cool.
Galactus. I was thinking about Galactus too, and I've heard Kirby talk about like why he, he's like, oh, this powerful being, he would have like a herald,
yeah,
and that kind. But I'm like, dude, he's also like super powerful, so he could just detect planets wherever and he could probably just instantly go there or something too.
I think that Galactus has always been a bit of a challenge to me. So when I went back and I started reading Fantastic Four from issue 1, because I really wanted to have a stronger. I mean, I've done this with multiple comics. I want to have a strong understanding of these stories, these characters, and these properties. And Galactus is a big deal. And so when I got up to those issues, it's like they're never going to live up to the reputation that they have, right?
Yeah.
But I also think that Galactus is basically he's a one and done storyline, right? Like
it's supposed to be, right?
Exactly, and that's his creation. He is only capable of really. So the moment you keep bringing him back, you're undoing the very strength of his original narrative and stuff. And so, but I think that's the point: is that Galactus, he's not deep. He doesn't have, he's just a big world-eating threat.
Yeah,
and he doesn't even have that much, like, aside from satiating hunger and propelling his own existence. He doesn't have anything. Like, he just, like, I don't remember why why Earth was selected. But it's like, Silver Surfer can find other planets for him, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and Galactus is just as good. Earth, Mars, it's just as good to me. Like, he just moves around to eat things. Like, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not that impressed by Galactus, unfortunately. And I think it would take a lot of work to find true value in his narratives.
Yeah.
Well, but just the sort of the ham-fisted desire to bring him back. Like, oh, Galactus, let's bring him back because he's cool.
Right. Well, I think that's what happened. I think that it was popular, and then they were like, oh, dude, we have to do more.
Yes. So, exactly.
And
that was a poor choice.
Was cool. Like those 3 issues, the coming of Galactus or whatever, like the way they built it up and stuff like that. That was cool. But
yeah, and if it's been a number of years now, but I don't remember exactly how they drive him off, but I do recall that I believe Mr. Fantastic strikes a deal with him, to basically save the Earth, and that's that's a great way of getting out of it. It's like because Galactus doesn't actually care so long as he gets something. As far as I understood, as long as he gets something to eat, he doesn't care. Right. Cool. If I get to eat something else, that's good.
Yeah. Well, that could be a challenge too, right? Like do something with him that makes him.
Oh, sure. I think it's a worthy challenge, and like you and I haven't read the majority of, but I would love to be proven wrong. I would love that somebody in the last 30, 40 years has written some comic that's actually worth reading at all, and especially with Galactus.
I wonder if did Walt Simonson do anything with him?
I don't know.
But he wrote the Fantastic Four for a bit, right?
He did. That's a good question. That's a good question. If there was somebody that might stand a chance of telling a good Galactus story, it might be him.
Yeah.
But that gets, like I said, it gets really tricky.
John Byrne.
Yes, John Byrne could potentially tell. I'm not convinced yet about his storytelling skills. I did enjoy reading the first issue of Next Men, but I don't know how that holds up, in terms of a long-term storytelling. And I haven't read anything. Like I did read his like Man of Steel read structure or whatever, reboot. I don't know what the proper term for it is in the 80s. And I recall one issue being an actual good story where I think he and Batman go up against Magpie, and it was an actual, like, meaning that it was a story. It had a beginning, middle, and end, and it had an actual arc. Every other issue I remember being just stuff happening, right? Like, or like solving answers giving answers to questions I don't care about. How does Superman shave? I don't care.
He liked to do stuff like that.
Exactly. He's grounded, and that's what we saw in Next Men, right? That's why Next Men is okay with me. Next Men is his opportunity to finally do everything he wants. Like, oh, this girl is super. She has super. Her body is super dense, and therefore her hair acts like razor wire. Cool. In Next Men, that's totally okay. I don't care if that's the case in these other comic books. Like the best example I'll always give about why I think that's a misguided attempt to apply to any superhero comic is somebody pointed out that the Human Torch, when he flames on, that because of our gut biome, all the bacteria that lives inside, the moment that he flames on, all of his gut bacteria would also have to have his superpower, or he kills them all. And when he reverts back to human form, he has to get a fecal transplant in order to, like, this is why applying realism to superheroes is stupid. Right. He is a man that turns on fire and can fly. End of story. That's as deep as you go. Now the stories I want to hear are not him getting fecal transplants. I want to see how he throws fireballs at a man who eats planets. That's what I want.
That's the behind the scenes stuff that they've been hiding from us.
That's the kind of stuff that John Byrne gets excited about. He's like, oh, here's how this would really work. Like, okay, cool. Please do that in your own stories where, you can explore that to your heart's content. Yeah.
Well, anyway, that was good. I don't know how we did on what did I say?
We did terribly on time. We were supposed to end a whole hour ago.
Well, I didn't realize this was so long. It felt long when I was reading it, but I didn't realize it was like double size. So
yeah.
We actually, I mean, in terms of page count, I think like we're probably good on the pace.
If it wasn't as big of an issue, sure.
Yeah, we'll have to try like a regular. So next week, Jumbo Max.
I believe it's Jumbo Max. It's a manga that I have read already, so it'll be a revisit to me, but it'll be brand new to you.
Cool.
And I'm almost certain it does not have an English official release, so we will be pirating it.
Okay. Well, yeah, this is good, man. Yeah, I like this issue, and it's cool to be able to like dig into it.
Yeah, and that's the point, right? Like, as much as there are parts where I said I don't like this, cut this, all that, I ultimately loved this, and this is what I want out of my superhero comics.
Yeah, man. Good stuff. All right, so Jumbo Max next Thursday.
Next week.
Yeah, we'll eventually have to organize this a bit better.
Yes, come up with a title. Let people know that this even exists.
Right now, it's the Story Bros.
Oh, okay. I don't mind that.
I mean, it doesn't. What was Jeff's suggestion?
Nitpicking with Chris and Ben.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
Unfortunately, it's just I think the negative is off-putting potentially for first-time people jumping in because they'll assume we're only going to do negative things. I dig the Story Bros a little bit. Huh?
We're very positive.
What's that?
We're very
yes,
positive.
Exactly. I am a very positive person.
Yeah.
All right. Next time. See you later.
All right. See you guys.